Sagittarius, if we were sitting together under a vast sky, I'd tell you plainly, this isn't just another horoscope pep talk. It's the reminder that your restless nights, your sudden sparks of anticipation, and that strange fire in your chest are not random. They're signals that you're standing at the threshold of something much larger than yourself. You've always known you weren't built for the small, tidy life. You're the archer who shoots for horizons most people can't even see. Sure, the neighbors might whisper that you're unrealistic or delusional, but that's because they confuse limitation with logic. What they call impractical optimism, the universe calls alignment. And isn't that the joke of being a Sagittarius? You keep betting on wild dreams, and somehow, against all odds, you land closer to the truth than the cynics ever will. Now, I know, you probably chuckled when you saw the phrase money manifests after one listen. It sounds like the spiritual equivalent of a late-night commercial, buy this crystal, and you'll never pay taxes again. But here's where it gets serious. Manifestation for you isn't about sweating more hours, grinding harder, or turning life into an endless spreadsheet of hustle. You thrive when you ride the current instead of fighting it, when you stop chasing every coin like a panicked accountant and let the river of fortune move in your direction. Buddhist teachers would nod here and remind you that grasping only brings suffering, while trust brings flow. Psychologists would back it up, noting that what you focus on becomes the filter through which you see the world. So yes, money can manifest, but not because you begged for it. It appears when you live in your natural Sagittarian rhythm, bold, joyful, and just a little outrageous. Think of it less like winning the lottery and more like planting seeds of intention, laughing at the absurdity of it all, and then watching the harvest surprise even you. After all, no one ever accused Sagittarius of being boring, and maybe that's the universe's real secret. Abundance follows those crazy enough to keep aiming their arrows at the impossible. Sagittarius, let us begin with an uncomfortable but undeniable truth. Lately your world has felt a little shaky, as if the ground beneath you were shifting in ways both subtle and obvious. Finances may have slipped through your fingers like sand no matter how tightly you tried to hold them. Opportunities may have appeared like promising ships on the horizon only to vanish before docking. You may have thrown yourself into the hustle, extra hours, endless effort, yet when you checked your bank account, the numbers mocked you as if to say, nice try, archer, but not yet. It can be frustrating, even discouraging, to feel as though the harder you push, the further the prize seems to drift. But here is the paradox that I want you to hold close: instability is not always your enemy. In fact, it may be your greatest ally. Nature teaches us this lesson repeatedly. Before the field can bear fruit, the soil must be turned upside down, shaken loose, broken apart. What feels like chaos on the surface is often preparation at the root. The universe, if you will, has a mischievous way of being a gardener. It fertilizes with storms, not sunshine. And right now, Sagittarius, your soil is being prepared. The old weeds of limiting beliefs, of fear, of the tired narrative of not enough are being pulled out at the root, leaving behind fertile ground for something far richer to take hold. Astrologically, this isn't random. Jupiter, your ruling planet, has been stirring your chart with the kind of generosity only Jupiter can provide. Imagine it as a golden ladle moving slowly through a deep pot, mixing all the hidden ingredients of your life into something new, fragrant, and nourishing. Jupiter never stirs just for money, it stirs for expansion, for vision, for the courage to live a life not of survival but of grandeur. Other signs may look at the same moment and say, too risky, too unstable. But not you. To Sagittarius, risk is simply another word for road trip, and chaos another word for adventure. Where others shrink, you expand. And this is precisely why prosperity gravitates toward you when you choose authenticity over fear, joy over panic. You were not designed to climb safely around the mountain, you were born to trek up its wildest, least marked path, laughing at the absurdity of carrying only snacks and faith in your backpack. Now, let's pivot from the stars to the mind, because psychology has its own way of explaining what the astrologer calls alignment. Psychologists teach us that our thoughts act like filters. If you wake each morning muttering, "There's never enough," your brain faithfully proves you right. Every bill feels heavier, every paycheck lighter, every headline about economic downturn a personal omen. You become, in essence, a magnet for confirmation of your fears. But here's the remarkable thing, the reverse is equally true. When you deliberately choose to notice abundance, when you focus on joy and opportunity, the lens shifts. Suddenly, you overhear a conversation that sparks an idea. A stranger at a cafe becomes a collaborator. That quirky side project that once felt trivial starts drawing attention. Magic? Perhaps. Psychology? Certainly. Either way, the result is the same: you step into flow. And here's where ancient Buddhist wisdom folds into the story like a missing puzzle piece. The Buddha taught that grasping, clinging, desperate attachment, are the roots of suffering. The more you clutch at money with white knuckles, the faster it slips away, not because the universe is cruel but because tension blocks the flow. True receiving comes only with presence. Picture the bow and arrow. If you grip the bow so hard your hands shake, the arrow will never fly straight. If you draw with steady strength and release with trust, the arrow finds its mark. The metaphor is ancient, but its wisdom is fresh. Sagittarius, you above all others understand this, because you are the archer of the Zodiac. You know instinctively that force and panic ruin the shot, but faith and precision release the arrow into destiny. So yes, your finances may look messy, your opportunities uncertain, your path riddled with potholes that make no sense. But that is not a sign of failure, it is the fire beneath your feet, urging you to dance differently, to trust that what is dissolving is meant to clear the way for what is coming. And if you can add a pinch of humor, because let's be honest, Sagittarius humor is your real currency, you will see the comedy in it all. Maybe your wallet is whispering like a Buddhist monk, "Detach, my child." Maybe your job rejection was actually Jupiter's way of saying, "Darling, that cubicle was too small for your spirit anyway." Life laughs with you, not at you, when you're bold enough to laugh first. In the end, what psychology calls cognitive filters, what Buddhism calls release, and what astrology calls Jupiter's benevolence, are simply different dialects of the same truth. Abundance begins when you loosen your grip, trust the process, and choose joy. Money will come, yes, but more importantly, so will freedom, so will expansion, so will the thrill of waking up to a life that feels less like a spreadsheet and more like a saga. And Sagittarius, is there any other kind of life you were meant to live? Sagittarius, destiny is a word often misused, tossed around in self-help books and Hollywood scripts until it begins to sound like a cliché, but when I use it here, I mean it with the weight of history, philosophy, and experience. There are certain individuals, and you may feel it in your bones if you are one of them, who carry within them a restless fire, a refusal to settle for the life society neatly lays out like a conveyor belt. These are the ones I call the chosen ones. Not chosen because a mystical elder handed you a sword in the middle of a rainstorm, but chosen because your soul, long before it took this human form, said yes to the larger adventure. You arrived with a fiery bow in your hand, a compass in your heart, and a spirit unwilling to sit quietly in the back row of existence. You were born to test the limits, to chase horizons, and to see how far the human spirit can stretch when fueled not by fear but by vision. That is why 2025, widely referred to among astrologers and mystics as the year of triumph, is a hinge year for you. It is not a polite chapter break, it is a slamming door and a wide open window. It is the year when Sagittarians who dare to trust the path of joy rather than the path of predictability will find themselves standing in fields of abundance they once thought belonged to someone else. This triumph is not confined to money, though yes, financial blessings are certainly possible. It is about reclaiming something far more valuable: your freedom, your vitality, your ability to wake up in the morning with the kind of excitement children feel on the first day of summer break. Imagine replacing dread with eagerness, exhaustion with momentum. That is the energy of this year for those willing to step into it with courage. In astrology, the patterns of Jupiter, your ruling planet, are clear. Expansion is not a suggestion, it is a command written across your chart in bold letters. The cosmos is calling you to stretch, to say yes, to leap. If I were pulling cards for you today, I would not be surprised to see the wheel of fortune turning in your favor. This is not some gentle nudge, it is the bright, neon sign that destiny is shifting gears. The wheel, when paired with the Ace of Wands, is a blazing confirmation that the arrows you have been firing, sometimes blindly, sometimes fueled only by faith, are circling back with astonishing accuracy. You may have wondered in the dark nights whether your efforts were wasted, whether the universe even noticed. But now comes the moment of vindication. Life was not mocking you, it was guiding you, and the satisfaction of seeing your shot land is sweeter than money itself. Financial gain is nice, of course, but nothing compares to the deep, soul-level joy of realizing that your intuition was right all along. That is the Sagittarian dream: not just to succeed, but to be vindicated in the wild faith you never abandoned. And because you, Sagittarius, are perhaps the Zodiac's best comedian, let's not forget humor. The universe often has a peculiar sense of delivery. Manifestation sometimes feels like ordering online. You think you clicked financial breakthrough, but what arrives on your doorstep is a bill for car repairs. A classic mix-up. Most signs would panic, curse, or sulk. You, however, smirk, roll your eyes, and mutter, "Of course." That is your secret resilience. You can laugh at the absurdity of it all, and in that laughter, you disarm despair. But here's the twist: those mistaken packages often contain the seeds of fortune. That unexpected expense could push you into a side hustle that later becomes your main income. That rejection letter you dreaded might be the very event that clears space for an opportunity so vast it could not have fit into your old schedule. As one Sagittarian friend confessed after losing his job, "Turns out the universe fired me because it knew I was too scared to quit." That is Sagittarius alchemy, turning pain into punchline, punchline into power, and power into prosperity. From a psychological perspective, this is resilience in action. Social scientists call it reframing, the ability to reinterpret setbacks as opportunities. Buddhists might say it is the wisdom of non-attachment, recognizing that clinging to one outcome blinds you to the larger unfolding. And as a longtime observer of human behavior, I would argue that Sagittarius embodies this better than any sign. You do not stay down for long because your spirit is allergic to stagnation. Even in loss, you see the seed of adventure. Even in rejection, you see a trailhead. This is why, when destiny offers you the year of triumph, you are prepared to grasp it not with desperation, but with laughter, faith, and a willingness to play the long game. So yes, call it destiny, call it the turning of the wheel, or call it just another wild ride in the endless Sagittarian saga. Whatever name you give it, the truth is this: 2025 is not asking you to play small, to hide your fire, or to follow the well-worn path. It is daring you to step into the freedom that has always been your birthright. And when you do, the vindication, the laughter, and the triumph will not only be yours, they will ripple outward, reminding the rest of us that faith, humor, and a touch of madness may be the most powerful tools we have for shaping a life worth living. Sagittarius, let us bring the conversation down from the stars and into the soil of everyday life, because manifestation, despite how mystical it sounds, is not about sitting on the couch chanting "I am rich" while Netflix interrupts with that familiar question, "Are you still watching?" Real alignment is about matching your inner vibration with your outer action. The truth is that every Sagittarian knows inspiration does not always arrive on schedule. It sneaks up on you in the shower, in the coffee line, or during a midnight wander when you should be asleep but instead are mapping out your next great scheme. Those flashes of brilliance, the seemingly random thoughts that pass by like shooting stars, are your million-dollar arrows. The key is to grab them before they vanish into the night sky. Write them down. Some of history's most transformative ideas began as scribbles on napkins or half-formed notes in a pocket journal. You don't need a cathedral to hear divine whispers. Sometimes the universe speaks loudest when your hair is full of shampoo. Once those ideas arrive, the second step is to embody them. Psychologists call this acting as if, but it is not about pretending or faking a life you do not have. It is about carrying yourself as someone who already trusts abundance, who walks with a calm certainty that what is meant for them is already in orbit, preparing to land. Think of it as the difference between swagger and presence. Swagger tries to convince others. Presence convinces only yourself, and that's all you need. The universe responds more to vibration than performance, and your steady confidence is worth more than 1,000 boastful speeches. Now, let's address the great Sagittarian temptation, the chase. You love the hunt, the thrill of pursuit, but chasing from fear is like pulling the bowstring until it snaps. Tension replaces rhythm, desperation replaces faith. The irony is that what you are chasing tends to run faster the harder you press. The ancient Buddhist teaching on grasping is clear: the tighter you cling, the more suffering you create. Just as an archer knows the arrow only flies when you release, so too does abundance appear when you allow rather than beg. The cosmos is far more generous when you relax your grip. Sometimes letting go is not laziness but wisdom. After all, no eagle flaps frantically to ride the wind, it spreads its wings and trusts the current. And then, there are the sacred rituals. To the outside world they may look small or even silly, but they act like Wi-Fi signals to the universe. Lighting a candle, saying an affirmation, pausing in gratitude, these are not empty gestures but signals that you are online, connected, and ready to receive. In our hurried society, we underestimate the power of these simple acts. Yet sociologists note that ritual grounds us, giving shape to belief. Buddhists would add that ritual creates presence, a conscious pause in the chaos. And as a student of the Zodiac, I can tell you Sagittarius thrives when life feels like ceremony rather than routine. Even your jokes at the altar are prayers in disguise. Let us turn now to affirmations, though not the monotone repetitions that sound like someone reading a grocery list. You are fire, you need your words to carry flame. Don't whisper them timidly, say them as though you are shouting from a mountaintop, as though you intend the valley below to echo back your conviction. Words such as "boundless wealth flows to me with joy and ease," or "I don't chase, I attract. What belongs to me finds me effortlessly," or the simple but potent, "Abundance is my natural state of being." The magic lies not in the words themselves but in the energy behind them. One recitation does little. But spoken consistently, with humor when you forget, with patience when results feel slow, with faith even when bills arrive, each word becomes a seed. And like any seed, it responds to time, water, and attention. The Sagittarian garden blooms not because you forced it but because you allowed it to. This brings us to the deeper psychological and spiritual truth. We have been conditioned, especially in the West, to believe that abundance is earned through exhaustion, through endless grind, through the sacrifice of joy on the altar of productivity. Society whispers, stretch yourself thin, prove your worth daily, then maybe, just maybe, you will deserve comfort. But that script is outdated, and worse, it is broken. Abundance is not a prize for suffering well. It begins the moment you decide you are enough. Imagine the freedom of stepping off the treadmill of endless proving and simply accepting your worth as inherent, unshakable, unearned but undeniable. Psychology calls this self-acceptance. Buddhism calls it non-attachment. Astrology calls it alignment. All three point to the same horizon. When your inner story changes, your outer world must mirror it. The economy of the soul is relentless, it reflects the beliefs you broadcast. So, Sagittarius, laugh at the old story that says you must grind yourself to dust before the universe hands you a coin. Smile knowingly when the world insists scarcity is the only truth. You know better. You have seen how a single moment of inspiration can change a lifetime, how a shift in presence can shift reality, how letting go can open doors you never even knocked on. You are not being asked to abandon effort, you are being invited to align effort with joy. That is the balance where the practical meets the spiritual, where psychology nods in agreement with astrology, and where Buddhist wisdom smiles knowingly at your fiery optimism. And if you can keep that sense of humor, if you can laugh at the absurdity of chanting affirmations while your cat stares at you like you've lost your mind, you will embody the most Sagittarian truth of all, that life is both a cosmic adventure and a comedy, and abundance arrives most quickly to those who are wise enough to take it seriously without ever losing the ability to laugh. Sagittarius, what all of this means for your daily life is not as mysterious as it first sounds. Opportunities are already circling you, not as distant dreams, but as eagles searching for a place to land. The beauty is that you do not need to chase them frantically, waving your arms like someone trying to flag down a taxi in the middle of New York traffic. Your task is simpler and wiser: stay grounded, keep your arms open, and trust that what is meant for you will find you. You are stepping into a season where money, freedom, and joy are not prizes waiting at the end of a marathon, they are immediate possibilities ready to enter your reality if you can allow yourself to meet them with faith. And I mean faith not as blind superstition but as steady rhythm, the kind of quiet confidence that says, I will take the step, and the road will appear beneath my feet. This moment in your life is the pause before the symphony begins, the hush before the first drum beat shakes the room. The air is already electric with potential, and your only real responsibility is to trust that you are seated in the front row of your own destiny's concert. You were never designed for a life of smallness. You were never meant to fold yourself neatly into a box that others built for their own comfort. Sagittarius energy is expansive, restless, philosophical, and profoundly alive. You are the storytellers who turn hardship into humor, the explorers who remind us that the world is vast, and the philosophers who whisper that meaning matters as much as money. As the year of triumph 2025 unfolds, you step into your role not merely as an adventurer but as a magnet for abundance. You are one of the chosen ones, not because you were handed a golden ticket but because you have the audacity to believe when others have long since given up. That fiery optimism of yours, the same trait that skeptics sometimes mock, is precisely the vibration that calls fortune to your side. So what should you do now? Light the candle, speak the affirmation, and laugh even when the universe throws you curveballs. Lean into your Sagittarian humor, the ability to grin at chaos and say, classic, when things don't go as planned. Because that very laughter keeps you open, keeps you trusting, and keeps you magnetic. Step forward not with hesitation but with the certainty that fortune is not just nearby, it has already walked through your door and is sitting in your living room waiting for you to notice. And when someone rolls their eyes at your belief that money, love, or opportunity can manifest quickly, don't argue. Just give them your trademark Sagittarian grin and say, maybe. But watch what happens. Your path is golden, Sagittarius. Your season is here, and abundance is not a distant fantasy but a present reality waiting for you to live it. So go out and live boldly, tell your stories, aim your arrows at impossible horizons, and enjoy the ride. And if this message resonated with you, if it stirred that restless fire in your heart, then I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Zodiac Talks Tarot, so together we can continue to explore the wisdom of the stars, the humor of life, and the freedom that comes when you dare to live as only a Sagittarius can.